What's everybody? What's up? What's up? Hey everybody, welcome. I am so excited for this live. First of all, sorry for the little bit of time snafu, but we're going to talk about that in a second. And it's about giving yourself grace. Because a few years ago, I would have had a complete conniption fit that, oh my God, I messed up the time. You know what? This isn't rocket science. We're not curing cancer. I'm not doing heart surgery. So I apologize for the delay, but we're here and I'm ready for this amazing talk. It's a long overdue. I actually don't think I've been on live with this lovely woman in 8 years. It's been a really, really long time. So before we get started or get any further, who am I? I am Coach. I'm not Coach Jazz. That's who I used to be. That is so funny. I went into mode. I can't believe I did that. That is hilarious. I am Jazmin Elon, a founder and visionary of Black Sunflower. I started my candle business about 2 years ago during the pandemic. I was featured in over 50 publications. In addition to that, I was able to generate over 7 figures in the business. And now I just want to do what I love. And I want to help you and everyone else learn how to live in their dreams and have successful businesses. And that's what I want to do. So today, I actually want to talk with Dr. Ebb because it's the pivots. We started off on Periscope over 8 years ago, and the amount of pivots that we've done since then has been amazing. And I want people to understand that Black Sunflower did not happen overnight. Overnight, it took a long time to get here. Hey, and so I'm actually just going to bring her in right now, and we're going to get this conversation started because what an honor to have you here with me. Hey, beautiful, how are you?
Hey, I see you went into full Periscope mode. Dr. Ebb, Coach Jazz, like, hey.
Muscle memory is a thing.
It's a
That
thing.
is crazy. I can't remember last time I said that. That was, and you know what? Talk about the upgrade. We have better cameras, better setups. It's the
I was
evolution
noticing.
of life.
Oh, I gotta figure out what camera she's using. That is amazing.
I know this is a nice camera, huh? I was like, I like this. It's the Sony X something or other. It's like $7.99. It's a great camera.
It's a webcam. It looks really
It
good.
can be used as a webcam. It's a regular camera, but it's like it has streaming mode on it. So
I love it.
We'll have to get that.
It.
Hello to everyone who's joining us. Thank you if you're watching the replay. Dr. Ebb, go ahead and take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell the amazing people who you are.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for having me, Jasmine. I'm just excited to be here and have this whole conversation. I'm a licensed psychologist based in Texas, and I'm the creator of my therapy cards, which we are going to talk about, I'm sure. But a lot of my work centers around helping Black women recover from trauma, find their voice again. And part of that also includes helping them build a healthier relationship with food. So that is what I do. And I'm just excited to just dive in and talk about how all of this came about from the days of Periscope where we met and how we ended up here in businesses doing what we love. Yeah.
So let's start. I know there's life before Periscope. We're gonna start life at Periscope because I think that's where things really kicked off for the both of us, and honestly, everyone that we kind of know in our circle at that time.
Yeah.
What made you join Periscope, and like what were your first experiences and why? And I guess you have to explain to people what Periscope is because some people don't even know.
Periscope was the first platform where you could go live and talk to people like you're talking to a camera and see the messages scroll up. That was the first thing. People think it was Instagram, Facebook. It was Periscope first. Then Instagram started doing that, and we all left Periscope and went over to like Instagram and Facebook. Right. But I got on there because I knew I needed to be more visible, and I wanted to start a business, and I wanted to generate income. So I got on there to literally create a presence to bring in income to the business that I had started.
Awesome. Me, at that time, I was personal training, and I once again needed visibility. It was this new thing, and even when I was training, what brought me to Periscope is when I first started training. Before online training was a thing, that's what I was doing. I had clients that I would train via Zoom, Skype. I would train via Skype, right? So before it was a thing, I would do online training via Skype. So then when Periscope came about, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I remember the first time I got on, I was terrified. Terrified. Yeah. And I shut it down. I was like, nope, we're not doing this. We're not, nope. I got my name, but we're not touching it. And then something told me, I was in the gym. I was like, Jasmine, just do it. And I think my first scope was of me doing an ab workout in the middle of the gym. And yeah, I think I just fell in love from there because there was no other space where I could reach my audience that quick and that easy and engage in real time.
I love it. And it worked. And it worked. And it caught on. And of course, now that's how everybody runs their business, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think we needed visibility. And at that time, the way we connected is because I was doing weight loss coaching at that
Right.
time. Yes, so you were a
Right.
trainer. I was on weight loss coaching, and then a lot of other people in our circle were doing much of the same. So we just kind of connected. We had like a little tribe.
Right. Okay. So then with building our brand, we had to tell people who we are. Like when you get on Periscope, you have a split second to introduce. Do you remember your spiel?
Yes. So I was like,
Okay.
because my name was not Dr. Ebony, it was
It
Dr. Eb,
wasn't.
right? So I was like, I'm
Yes.
Dr. Eb. Weight loss. I'm a health and wellness coach, and I've lost over 50 pounds. I helped my sister lose over 50 pounds, and we've kept it off for the past 14 years. You remember?
It's
That
gonna
was my spiel. Yeah.
Okay, and then mine was I'm Coach Jazz, certified personal trainer, fitness, nutrition, and weight loss specialist. I help people looking to lose weight and live a healthy lifestyle, do so through education, inspiration, and motivation.
Yes.
I can't remember last time I said it.
Yes.
And that was our spiel. Everybody that came on Periscope had this little spiel that they gave that drew people in. And the beautiful thing about Periscope is that when you shared, it shared with your whole audience.
Yeah.
So you were able to grasp a huge audience very quickly. Which is really nice for that. Okay, so let's get to the pivot. So I think even within Periscope, we did a few pivots. I think I remember in the beginning, we're all doing our individual Periscopes. And then the one that really brought us together was with the National Health Show.
Yes. National Health Show, where we were going to just help the people. We were round robin. And it really was a good model. It was a good model because people got 3 experts in what, 15 minutes, in 60 minutes, or 30 minutes, or something like that.
We do 15-minute increments, I think.
Yes, we did 15-minute increments, but we gave our points and they got all this information. So honestly, a lot of people will go to Instagram and see like the following that we built, and it really didn't start on Instagram. It started on Periscope, and people followed us over there.
It really did.
That's why I like to tell people now, don't get so caught up on the platform. You will find yours, and your tribe will follow you. Your community will follow you.
Create the quality and give really good information and actually interact with your tribe. And no matter where you go, they will follow you. Now, none of the pages I really use now are the Coach Jazz page. It was like my old page. It's still there. I just don't use it. And even when I started Black Sunflower, people were like, well, why don't you just use that page? I was like, because they don't care about candles. That's why. And so I never used that page. And it's really interesting. So during the world of Periscope, what are some things that you learned and that made you think, okay, I have to change directions, especially even with, I don't want to say the death because it's still there, really minimal, but even with the world of Periscope not being able to reach your audience, what are some changes that you had to do and why? Like what sparked those?
So one of the things that really made me pivot, one, I was in business with my sister. And we changed the model of the business. And I was like, well, my sister's a behind the scenes person. She's not an in your face person like me. She doesn't like to talk. So I knew that I had to be the face. So I said, I'm going to pivot it. And I'm just going to use the Dr. Ebony brand, right? It was the brand that we used together was My Sister's Keeper, right? And so I said, I'm just going to use Dr. Ebony. Then I learned more and started educating myself on weight loss and the roots of diet culture. And I said, I can't keep doing weight loss anymore. I can't keep telling Black women their bodies aren't good enough unless it's skinny. So I've got to figure out how to still talk to people about food, but not in a way that's condescending, not in a way that's making them feel like they need to be skinny, not in a way that wipes away our culture. And so I said, well, what I know is I know relationship. What I know is I know the psychology behind things. So I know that there's a psychology behind why we engage with food the way that we do. So that's where the food relationship strategist came from. So that's when I started talking more about how to be healthy and show up with food without guilt and shame. Show up with food from your cultural roots. And I started talking about anti-Blackness and diet culture. So That was a lot of the shift. And I don't know if I did not stop talking about weight loss on Periscope. I didn't stop talking about weight loss until I got to Instagram. And I was
Mm.
like, yeah, this isn't my jam anymore. I don't like it. It feels ugh. I don't like it anymore. And I just can't keep doing that same thing to people who look like me. I don't even like what it's doing to me. And it honestly shifted so much more after I did bodybuilding. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not for me.
And that was amazing. We'll definitely get into that because I was just like, wait, what? Where did that come from? It was like out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere to the public eye.
Yeah.
But internally, I'm pretty sure there was a lot going up to that. And honestly, I didn't realize that we actually had the exact same shift where I always said fitness, nutrition, and weight loss specialist. And with that, I taught people to eat the foods that they love, but how to eat them and still enjoy life and still have a healthy physique, healthy body, or whatever the mind of healthy physique is. But I think the thing that got me the most, especially with Instagram and when it came up, I started fighting BBL, weight loss surgery, tummy tea, Herbalife culture.
Yeah.
That's what I ended up starting to have to fight.
Yeah.
And that was hard because I was a mom. I think at the time Juju was like 3 or 4 or something like that. And teaching people that no, my body is in shape. I may not have a six pack, but I am strong. I have endurance. Like my blood work is on point. But I'm not. It was harder for me to then. I wouldn't say it was harder. I still got great clients, but I had to let people know. And I always talked about this. I was like, don't come to me saying I want the Beyonce waist, I want the J Lo booty, I want the Janet Jackson arms. Like, don't come to me if that's where you're coming to me. I am not the trainer for you. If you're coming to me because you have a vacation or wedding coming up and you want to lose weight, I am not the trainer for you. And listening to what people were saying, it definitely evolved how I operated in my business. I remember, actually, let's get to this. Did you ever offer a big package on Periscope?
I did. I offer smoothie challenges. I offer 101 and a mastermind. Yep.
And a mastermind. Okay, what was your highest ticket item that you sold on Periscope? Do you remember?
Oh my God. I know it was low. It was high at the time, but it had to be like $297 or something like that.
Yeah. I think mine was something like that. I think I did like a $299, $399. And I remember launching it. And I remember that weekend crying because that was the first time I had launched something. And at that time, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
And we were new in our business. And we were new on creating value, showing our value over time, and then asking people to buy something from us. That was completely new. And so I remember crying because I remember it was in one day I cleared like 5-6 grand, and I never did that before. And I was like, oh my God, all the hard work. Because people don't realize the amount of time. So yes, I may have cleared 5 or 6 grand, but if we divide that by the amount of time I spent on Periscope, I made pennies.
Yeah. And we were on there every day. Like I was on there every day before work, 6 days a week, every day, giving out information for an hour, at least for an hour at a time, each time. Yeah.
It's crazy. An hour at a time. And then that was when it was socially acceptable to drive and go live.
Yes. Yes.
It's not so socially acceptable anymore, but I had a almost hour and some odd minute commute to work, and every morning scope and drive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We talked about everything. Like, we're my friends, like my life. So how did it feel? Tell us about that package that you released and like how you got to the point to be able to actually offer at that time, big ticket item.
I started small. So all of us were kind of like eating up these marketing methods or sessions, right, on Periscope, right? So we pretty much were all probably offering the same thing. So I would do free challenges. So I would do a free challenge, right? Or I would go, okay, so this is the way the funnel worked, right? I would go live. This is free. Then I would do the smoothie challenge, which was $19.99 or $19.97, which was like a 21-day thing. You buy the PDF, you get the smoothie and the recipes, right? The next step was a masterclass. It was like a webinar or something. That was $97. And then if you wanted to work with me over the course of 6 weeks, that was $297. So that was the way that you would increase your work with me, right? And then so I would just release it over the course of the year. in that order, right?
Mhm.
And then I would do webinars to launch it or webinars to promote it, get people on an email list, all of that great stuff. And then when it came time for the 297, I would talk to those people who had already done those things with me.
Right.
And I
Right.
would, go back on Periscope, answer questions, and tell them, well, if you want to join this, you could join this. But most of those people in the 297 came from people who had already done all the other
Through
stuff.
everything.
Mhm.
Exactly. My funnel, I think I did mine a little bit different. I gave the free information, but I was always doing workouts and stuff online. I was always
Mm-hmm.
doing workouts and exercises. And I jumped straight from the just giving lots and lots of free information. I think I did one like small challenge in between. I can't really remember. But I do know I just jumped into that and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. And it worked because I think
Mm-hmm.
my funnel was the free workouts.
Yeah, yeah.
People and I remember one time, I think it was my most watched scope, and it was the weirdest thing. It was my water scope. Do you remember my water scope? I
I
did a
think I
Periscope
do.
about water, and we talk about alkaline water. We talk
Oh,
about
yes, yes, yes. Oh
I
my
was sitting in
God.
the car, you guys. I was
Yeah.
sitting in the car, and there were so many
Yes.
people on that scope just talking about water.
Because
And I
this
was
is how confused we are about stuff, food, diet.
right. And I think it was at that moment I realized I was like, okay, I think even I don't know if that was before or after the package, but that was the moment where I realized this Periscope thing is crazy.
Yeah.
And I have to go live. Like whatever platform, I'm never not going live.
Mm-hmm.
I can't not do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so would you say that I don't know if it was that a workup to what we do now? Because anybody who's afraid to go live, yes, it's weird. You're literally talking to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. You know what? I actually got so burnt out that when I switched over to Instagram, I didn't go live for a whole year and a half. I know. I just would not go live. I would talk via my stories, but I was so burnt out because I did it every single day that I was like, I'm not going live. Even now, that's a thorn for me. And I will go live every now and then, which I know better, but it still is like, I, I
We
don't
did it a
want
lot.
to
We
do
did it a
it.
lot. When I say every day, guys, I would be in the grocery store with my phone hooked to my grocery cart, periscoping.
Yeah.
And it was wild. But I see what you're saying. I only go live because I really hate creating content. I'm not a
Mm.
content creator.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
like to say I am, but I need
You
to
are. Live is
I
still
am.
content.
I'm a live content creator, so I'd much rather go live and get it done with. People like, do you rewatch your videos? Nope. If it's there, it's living forever, and that's what it is. Even with Periscope, people are like, do you rewatch your Periscopes to see what you can prove? Nope. Don't
Mm-mm.
rewatch them. We don't have time.
No, no.
Because we have
We don't have time and I don't
hour,
want to
two
go back and
hours.
watch.
Right. What do you feel are some of the biggest things that you've learned, or like, no, when do you know when to pivot?
Oh, that's a good question. When do I know when I knew that it was time to pivot when there was a lot of tension in kind of like trying to get my sister to do what I was doing and it wasn't working. I found myself getting upset. So it was time to pivot when I found myself just continuing to fight against what was naturally occurring, which was she was moving more to the background and she just was not comfortable being in front of the camera. I said, so, okay, well, let me just do this. So then that's when Dr. Ebony came and the whole food relationship stuff. But then when I got on Instagram, I would only talk about food relationship stuff. It took me a long time to even start talking about therapy because I didn't know how to blend the two
Mm,
together. I didn't know how to wear both of those hats at the same time. So I was sprinkle therapy stuff here and there. Then I knew it was time to pivot when my community told me what they wanted. They came over there for the food relationship stuff and they stayed for the therapy, right? And so that's what I like to tell people. They told me what they wanted. So now I talk about I talk about therapy. My food relationship stuff happens more on a speaking level or
mhm.
more kind of like webinar class type of level. I don't talk about that all the time on my platform, but I will do keynotes about it. I will go to conferences about it. I do podcasts about it and that kind of thing. And I had my own podcast at one time. So when my time just started to dwindle
Mhm.
and when the community would tell me that they wanted more, that's when I knew it was time to pivot. And so when you become a therapist too, like everybody's a therapist on social media. Everybody. So I was like, well, what can I do that's going to make me stand out? So that's where the pivot around product creation came from too. So we'll talk about that too.
Oh, we definitely are
Yeah.
going to talk about this because I
Yeah.
remember when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. You made a really good point of some people are like, when do I pivot? Sometimes internally in the your immediate surroundings will tell you, oh, it's time to pivot. Maybe the money's not flowing in as much as it was before, or you're not just enjoying it. Let's go there. That's a big one that I'm on right now in my life. If you're not enjoying it, it's time to pivot. Yeah. But then also, what are your customers telling you? What is your audience telling you? As much as we want to create something, a lot of times it's not what your people really want. And you can try really hard to build your target audience, and you will, but getting it right on point and knowing exactly what the people want, it's not always available to you. We have to realize you have the opportunity to ask your audience exactly what they want. Yeah. Like there was never another time where I could just hop on my stories and say, do you like red Kool-Aid or purple Kool-Aid? And they're gonna let me know. So I was okay, I'm gonna make purple Kool-Aid because nobody wanted to. No, actually, we want red Kool-Aid. As much as I want red Kool-Aid, if everybody else tells me something else, it's time for me to make that pivot.
Mm-hmm. And you know what else? What does the universe need? Like I always think about the recession and how out of the recession in 2008 we got Uber, right? So out of the pandemic we got Black Sunflower. Out of the pandemic we also got my therapy cards. So what does the universe need? What do the people need? And can you address the need? Do you have what it takes to address the need? And you can ask yourself that and evaluate if you do and go forward.
Right. Then you make a really good point. Solving a problem. So many people are starting businesses because they just want money. If you're starting a business just because you want money, it's not going to work. All the hours on Periscope made us no money.
Yeah.
I mean, it made us money in the end, but if we divvy out the time we spent, we
I lost nothing. A lot of money.
Yeah, we made nothing. But what it did do, like I said, it helped build up our audience and build up our confidence so we can actually display and present ourselves the way we are now. But we were able to actually really assess the landscape and solve a problem. If you are not able to say, I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm solving a problem, your business is not going to work. I don't care what anybody says. It's not going to work. It'll work for a little bit. Yeah. But eventually the fact that you don't enjoy it will catch up to you. And the fact that if it's something nobody needs, nobody's buying it. And you're going to feel even worse about yourself in that angle.
It could be the prettiest thing. It could be the prettiest thing. It could be the most luxurious thing. It could be the best idea. But if people don't need it, they won't buy it. It could be, and this is the thing that I see people run into too. Well, it's free. Nobody wants it. People don't need it. And it's $1, but people still won't get it. Do people need it or do you just love it? And so you got to find what that in between is. Like you can love it, but also do people need it?
That's a really good point. Think about it. If this was free, would people still want it? If the answer is no, maybe you should do something else. Yeah. So you brought it up how Black Sunflower as well as my therapy cards came about during the pandemic. Tell about this process, because obviously this was another pivot. Yeah. What was the mindset? What was going on that you need to make this change in your business?
You know what? It was always going to be a card deck. It just wasn't going to be a therapy card deck. It was going to be a food relationship card deck. And I remember reaching out to Audria in 2019, and it just hit me one day. And I was like, well, what can I create that's going to serve the people, but also be something that people can use? I was like, I've done a webinar. I've done a book. I've written a book. I've done ebooks. What is it that I can launch that will get in people's hands that would be a product? So I'm ruminating over this, and then a card deck popped in my head, and I was like, duh. Okay, I'll do a card deck. But it was a food relationship card deck. And I contacted her, and she was like, oh, that's easy. Let's do it. Then COVID hits, all right, and everything shuts down. And I remember it was supposed to launch in May. So at the beginning of 2020, I was actually launching and in the marketing and launch process for a food relationship retreat. We were going to be here in Austin. I had actually secured the Airbnb, got the host, and was actually putting it out so people can start signing up for it. Then, of course, lockdown happens. So I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because the cars were going to be released to that community first. And then I said, well, I don't want to do it anymore. And she said, that's not an option. I said, well, people don't have money. She said, and that's not an option. I said, okay, well, here's what people need. We don't need to be telling each other during a pandemic what we need to eat because we're all in survival mode. I said, what people need right now is they need therapy resources. And that's how the therapy cards came about. So I said, we'll put the food relationship deck on hold and we'll just do a therapy card deck. And that's what we have. And then that took a life of its own. I had no clue, but it took a life of its own. Like Jazz, I only wanted to sell five. I only wanted to make $5,000 a quarter. That was my goal. Because coming from Periscope, right, I was like, this is gonna be great. If I could just sell 100 decks, that'd be great. I'd be fine.
It's wow. So I just did a talk with Derek, who started his candle company during quarantine. And it was amazing how many things were in line about the way our lives were. And it's so funny. You said, I only want to sell 5,000. When I started selling candles, I said, I just want to pay my phone bill, maybe part of my rent, and maybe my car note. Like, I would be happy with that. Like, perfectly fine. But the universe said, I said, God said, hold my tequila. I got something.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay. So you were like, we doing this. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm here. I'm here. You also made a good point with during all the changes that you had to make in the beginning, right before shutdown, the lockdown happened. For those of you out here maybe thinking, well, I don't know how to pivot. I don't know what to do. Look back at that time and think of all the things and changes that you made in your life at times where so many people lost their jobs, they lost resources, people were alone, like in their head. There's so many things going on. You making those decisions and you're still here right now watching that, you know how to pivot. You know how to make it happen. So I know some people, I don't know what to do. You listened to your gut instincts. You saw what was needed within your life. You assessed your landscape and you made the proper decisions. And all of them may not have been the proper decisions at that moment, but through the pivots, you're able to find your way and navigate yourself to the point that you're here watching this video right now. So if you have any of those doubts in your head that this is something that you can't do, that you don't know how to pivot in your business, you're here right now. Anything you want to add to that, Dr. Ebony?
Yes, I really love the point about not doubting yourself, because I did that. I was like, people don't have money. Don't, one, back up from doubting yourself, and two, back up from counting other people's pockets. If that's the main thing that y'all leave here with today, stop counting other people's money, because we are projecting our money stories onto people, and that's getting in the way of us actually putting ourselves out there. It doesn't even get in the way of you marketing your product. It gets in the way of you or your business. It gets in the way of you creating it. Because from people can't pay for this flows, people don't want this. This is not going to be necessary. Nobody's going to ever pay me for this. I'm not going to make money off of this. This needs to die. And so counting other people's pockets is always going to lead you back to not doing. What you need to focus on is, what is my goal? What problem does it serve? You can take your community's median income into consideration, of course. However, what needs to be the most important is, do I solve a problem? Do people want this? And what is it going to cost me to run this business? And let me price myself from there.
Right.
When you're counting other people's pockets, you go too low. One, your community will tell you that you need to raise your price, and there are also people who will tell you that. And you miss out on actually getting what you need to run a business from a sane place. Because when you're not making money, but you're steady dishing out money, you're not coming from a sane place. You're anxious, you're worried, you're desperate, you're frantic, and that doesn't put you in the right headspace to be creative and to continue to generate income for your business. So stop counting other people's pockets.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I love that. So we have the beginning of the pandemic. You're told you are making these cards. It's no choice. The cards launch. So I know even with the launching of it, I know even between then and now, you've made several pivots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of those?
Yes. So the card, and this is so good. The card deck is not perfect by far. The women's card deck is the initial card deck. It is not perfect. I made so many mistakes with that card deck. You can actually see some of the mistakes in the cards, but I put it out anyway because I felt like this is what we have. My perfectionism can get the best of me, and we went with it anyway, right?
Mhm.
From that, people said, "Where are the men? Where are the decks for the girls, for the teens, for the boys?" So from there, we created a deck. Well, we created a journal to accompany the deck because what I've learned by listening is that while people want to do the work, they want to be told how to do the work, right? So, so I created a journal and said, let me lead people through how to work through these cards. So then that's the second product in the collection, right? So then we have the deck for teens. Well, we did a journal for women. We need a journal for teens. Then we have the deck for men, and of course, we need a journal for men. Though that's 6 products that we have, right, for something that started out as one. And
You almost didn't do.
that we almost didn't do, right? And it has taken a life of its own. It's taken a full life of its own. I could not have ever imagined, ever.
I love this story. And I remember as soon as they came out, I have my deck. I don't know why I don't have it sitting in front of me. I'm gonna run and get it for a second because now I gotta prove that I got my own too.
Yeah. Men, yeah.
And they're actually very helpful. I use them and I don't use them often anymore. I use them more during lockdown, but every
Yeah.
now and then when I'm sitting there, or if I need journal prompts, or I just need something to write about,
Mhm.
or I need to get out of my own head, I'll just randomly pick a card. And yes, I'm like, I don't want to answer that right now.
Yeah.
I ain't ready.
Yeah. Same.
or I'm not ready to be real with myself.
Uh-huh.
They've helped me so much, but it's beautiful seeing how one product that you thought you didn't even want to create has evolved into so much more. And honestly, that pivot has changed so many lives. What's some of, I mean, what's some of the feedback that you've been getting?
It's a I want to talk about the negative feedback too because I like to
Yeah.
be honest and transparent. The best things I hear are the relationships that the cards are saving. Somebody just messaged me yesterday and was like, these cards are helping me and my sister repair our relationship and reconnect. During the pandemic, people were doing pods. People were going to like virtual brunches and doing the cards. People were going to parking lot gatherings and doing the cards, bonfires with their communities and doing the cards. And the feedback is just, this is giving me a lot to think about. I would have never thought about it in that way. It's helping me to dig into some things. Also, on the therapist side of things, it's helping me move my sessions along. It's helping me connect with my clients. My clients introduce me to them and we use them in session. And so some of the feedback has just been really good. It's like, you need to do more, you need to create more. Where's our other decks? Where are our other additions? So I really like it. And I was like, y'all slow down. It's only one me. I literally am taking the questions that I ask in therapy and putting them in card decks. So I have to come up with them. I have to form a focus group of other therapists so that they can double check the questions and check me on the tasks and make sure that I'm giving people real things to do and I'm not just putting things out just to say I
Yeah.
got a dick, right? So it's a whole process, and that's why it took years for us to even get to the men's dick. And now we're gonna come out with another one this year, but that was 2020. This is 2023, and we still are rolling out, right?
Right. It's crazy. And you heard what she said, you guys. This doesn't happen overnight. None of this happens overnight. And I love the fact how people are asking you for more decks. And you said, hold on, wait, you guys, I'm one person. I'm going to take it to me for a second, where one of my big pivots right now is I love my candles, but I'm a businesswoman who saw an opportunity, who created a candle company.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I was running myself ragged trying to keep up with the demand because Black Sunflower just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I felt in order for me to not disappoint people, I had to keep getting bigger with it. I had to buy more stuff. I had to get my shop. I had to get a fulfillment center. And then people are like, well, what stores? Oh yeah, what store shall I be in next? That was never my vision. I wanted to pay my car note and my cell phone bill. Like that was what I wanted to do with Black Sunflower. So I would say about fall last year, I had to reassess my idea of success because my idea of success was being pushed upon me by the outside world. And when I sat back and really thought about it, I just want to do what I want, when I want, and I want to be happy doing it. I've always loved teaching and educating. I that's been the core in my career, property management. I was a trainer. That's what I did. I did leasing, and then I trained other people how to lease. There's nothing better than helping people become better versions of themselves that they didn't believe was possible. And so sitting back and realizing that, I've now started the Black Sunflower Business Collective, which is a free resource for business owners or anybody aspiring to elevate or grow their business. But before that, I started the Black Sunflower Business Academy, which is a paid resource. And me thinking, okay, I want to help more people, and not everyone can afford the paid resource. That's why I started the collective. And so now I've now bottled both of those up, and I've started an entrepreneur conference on top of that. Yeah, Econ Seattle. Oh man, we have one coming to Houston on the
I'm so
fall.
excited.
Yes. Yeah, so we don't have to talk about that.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where, yes, there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing, but it's the stuff I love now. An article, I keep mentioning this because it's really interesting. It was that aha moment. Me and my publicist were going through SEO, and we found an article that we didn't know existed. I think it was on Cosmo, but it had a bunch of candle companies and had pros and cons of each candle company. Don't really remember what the pros were. All I remember is the con. It said may take a little while to ship. And you know what I said? I'm fine with that. Because for the longest, if my stuff didn't go out in time, I would have a heart attack. I would stay up at night, like panicking. Oh my God, what are they going to think? I need to get it to them right away. Well, Jazmin, you were exhausted. Rest. And so my current pivot is pivoting in a way that allows me to live within my true self, allows me to take care of myself, allows me to then be able to pour into others fully because my cup is full. Like there was nothing left in my cup. And so the pivot isn't always about what's going to make you more money, what's going to fill my soul. It was my next pivot. Like I couldn't keep going the way I had to. And you're giving me the that my therapist gives me.
You're giving me the one like, right now. It's resonating with me as well, right? It's resonating with me. I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at what point did you feel that you had to start living within your true self?
I did the same things. As a small business owner, you're like, people know me. They're going to be disappointed in me. So I have to make sure that I deliver to them and over deliver, overcompensate, because that's me, right? It's not some fulfillment center that, A to Z, that they are running around with a gazillion workers. It's you. So I was, and people don't know this. As a small business owner, you are competing with those very people, right? Because people are expecting you to ship at the same speed that these other companies. And I was like getting frustrated saying, I'm not a 2-day shipper. I put it on the website. It's 2 to 5 days. I don't work for USPS. I can't just, because USPS has shut down during the pandemic too. And they were really late, losing things really late. It was just a big mess. And so I had to give myself grace and recognize that people have been trained and conditioned by that 2-day thing, and that you are only doing what you're able to do. And that's what we're going to do. And the people who people are going to understand. Some people won't, and that's fine. But the people who are in your community, they understand and they are okay. And when it happens, you make every effort to correct the issue. You are customer first, and you communicate with people. You can't, and so the people pleasing takes over, right? That's what's resonated with me. It's like I want to make sure that every single person is happy with me, and they just won't be. They just won't be, and that's okay. So I had to learn, even as a therapist, I had to learn that that's okay, that people aren't going to like you. I've learned to do that in the therapy world. Product-based stuff was first. This was new for me. So I didn't know how to do that and to have that muscle of, it's okay. People are going to be mad. It's not you. Everything was personal because this was my baby and everything was personal, right? If the person I had doing the shipping didn't ship on Mondays and Thursdays, like I said, I was mad. And I was like, we need to do it. We need to do it. The website says this, so it needs to be this. And so learning to back up and give myself grace was the best thing of all, because now I don't need to rush to produce something and run myself crazy in the process, because at that moment, I'm not being a model to what I'm trying to teach people and convey to people and have them experience. So it's done a lot of kind of like, okay, sit with that, back up from that, rest. It's taken a lot for me to actually get to that place. And it didn't happen overnight.
No. And it's these real conversations that I don't think people are really having. And I remember one time somebody, I don't even remember what actually happened with their order. All I know is they, I guess, just opened up their order. Maybe something was broke. I can't remember. Bottom line, it really wasn't my fault. But she sent me an email, went off, went to Facebook and Instagram, left the message. But by the time I responded to her email and then I went back to Instagram and I saw she wrote these, I went back to her and I was like, I don't even understand why you did this. Like, I literally just talked to you. And I think that was one of the first moments that I realized no matter what, you aren't able to please everyone. And you are going to be an initial outlet for whatever it is. USPS could have lost their stuff. It could look like it was ran over by a train. It is still your fault.
It's your fault.
It left my facility. It was in great condition. I promise I didn't beat it up and ship it out to you.
Yeah. It's still your fault.
It's still your fault. And you're going to have to learn. And it's going to take a while. It doesn't happen overnight because I think I'm just getting it as well. That it's not that I don't care, but I ain't going to let you stress me. I say all the time, I am not solving cancer. I'm not curing cancer. I am not doing brain surgery. I'm not doing open heart surgery. I'm not giving anybody no organs. Time is not of that essence. I'm going to do my best though. And I am human. I am human. And we all have to realize that everyone's just here doing their best, even coming out of this pandemic. Let's say before that, we was all messed up in the head, but now we all a little bit more messed up in the head, right?
I always tell people, none of us are okay. We're operating in this world like we are, and we're not.
We're not okay. And so even when it comes down to road rage and people like cutting you off, I have some friends who are still like, wow, with it. You know how many times somebody will like cut me off and then they'll like come around like this? I'm like, it's okay. Like I usually give this now instead of the right. I'm like,
right.
Good. Yeah. Like who knows? You don't know if this person's daydreaming because they just lost their job, their dog just died. Like you don't know what's going on in people's lives. And so actually taking a moment to think about that, I think it's really, really important. But yeah, the pivot, go back to the pivot part of it. The pivot isn't just pivoting within your business. It's pivoting in the way you function within your business, the way you show up in your business, the way you show up for yourself, the way you show up to and towards other people, the way you present yourself. And there's so many different ways that you can do it. And I think it honestly all starts with like listening to yourself. Because a lot of the times we don't, and that's when we end up that's when you end up going crazy.
You end up going crazy and you end up kind of feeling like you don't own this life anymore. You don't own your business anymore. Like you said, like you're being told what to do. Your success and how you run your business is being dictated by somebody else. One of the main things, which is a con too, that I had to check myself on and slow down and breathe through was the pricing of the cars. These cars are $49.97. A therapy session with me for an hour is now $200, right? There are 52 cars in this deck, which means that there's $1 per week that you can pay to work through these cars if you can't afford an hour with me, right? One of the things that I got from people was, one, that's too expensive. Two, they're not big enough to be $49.97 now. But I had to check myself on and say, but AirPods are tiny. You know, AirPods are tiny, but we have those, right? These phones that we carry are tiny, but we have those. It really seemed like at that moment, people were projecting their values around money and things onto me. And I had to step back and say, wait a second, that's not your stuff. You cannot solve people's money problem. If they cannot afford what you have or find value in what you're putting out, that's okay. You have to know that it's valuable. You know the process you went through to create these cards, and you know what they hold and the magnitude by which other people have said they have impacted them. You cannot listen to probably, I would say, the handful of people since 2020 who said that these cards are too much. And the guilt that I feel as a people pleaser is, Black people don't have money like that. And I was like, whoa. I said, one thing I'm not going to do is internalize that, because that's a huge insult. we do have money. We're disadvantaged in a lot of ways, but we do have money and we do spend money. And a lot of the reasons that we're successful is because Black people have given me their hard-earned money.
And the marketing to almost any major brand says otherwise.
Right. And so when you look at that, because it gets to be so much reading those comments, reading those reviews, that you want to save yourself, defend yourself, explain to people. And so there was a point when I said, you know what? You can't take on other people's money stuff. You can't over explain the value of your cars, your product to people who don't see the value in help. And so that helped me so much as a business owner because it took me out of the need to be worried about other people, the negativity, and focusing on the people who wanted it, the people who found value in it. And that helped me shift as a business owner and a person. So now too, even when I make posts on Instagram and Facebook, if people don't agree, I'm not going to go back with you unless I have time. And then I'm not going to say anything, because sometimes I got time.
I got time today.
Sometimes I got time. But most of the times it taught me you don't have to respond to everything. Everything does not warrant a response. Everything does not warrant you to step in the middle, make it good, make it peaceful. Just let people have their day, go on about your day, run your business, and focus on the people who are there to support you.
Right. And I'll be honest, I've gotten to the point where I kind of enjoy the bad reviews here and there because it balances stuff out. Yeah. Because how many times you go to something, you're like, this can't be perfect. Everybody loves it. Yeah. Everybody. Right. Yeah. And I'm sorry, the best negative reviews are like all the good reviews and then the 1 star. Like, there was a point in time where it would crush me.
Yeah.
How do I fix it? How do I make them happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they feel that way, they feel that way.
And you know what? You talked about Periscope earlier. I learned from Periscope when people left my email list, Periscope taught me to be okay with that.
Right.
I learned that early on in Periscope. Like, you can't have your feelings hurt. But so now that you're saying it, well, you said it and it made me think about it. Periscope also helped stuff to just roll off.
It really did.
It just roll off. You just keep going. Yeah.
We're in the comment part. Because let's be honest, I feel Instagram is safe with the lives. Oh, yeah. Instagram is so safe. I guess I haven't ventured into TikTok yet just because I ain't ready. But that's a beast as well. But you were thrown to the wolves when you went live on Periscope.
Yeah.
You were thrown to the wolves. Anybody can come in, say anything. Because you guys, when somebody shared your post, everybody on their friends list got notified to come into it. Yeah. And so you would be sitting there with 5 people. All of a sudden, there's 100 people sitting in your prayer. Next thing, there's 150 people sitting there staring at you. You're like, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah. So you learn how to block. You learn how to block and you learn how to keep going, right?
Yeah, and it built that like tough edge around you. I love what you said about the pricing, how somebody said the cards are too small to be that much. And I always go back to just to leave the house, to go out, you're spending a minimum of $50. I don't care where you live.
Minimum.
I don't care where you live. A minimum of $50. Now, if you're going out to like party, you easily spending a good 150, 150, 200 more every time you go out. So like you said, if somebody doesn't find the value in what you're offering, now, if multiple people are not finding the value in what you're offering, then maybe it's time for you to pivot. Maybe you're not showing the value correctly. You need to find another way around. But if there are a few people here and there that are not finding the value in your product, that's perfectly okay. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's time for you to pivot. But once again, when you do go back and listen to what people have to say, you don't always have to take it to heart. Definitely take note. Take note, but don't take it to heart. And a lot of times the feedback, the quote unquote negative feedback is great. Just like with yours, it's like, where are the men cards? Where are the young girls cards? I have people mention stuff to me all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Let me take that into account. And I actually thank them. And there are quite a few people who've come to me with like, I'm not so happy, who leave. Like, I may not even fix a problem, but when they actually see me make a change and take into account what they've said, it changes everything.
And nothing is wrong with that. Like, you can, like the reviews say, oh, I wish there were no blank cards in the women's deck. There are no more blank cards in any of the other decks, right? Not something I wanted to hear, but okay, no more blank cards. These are things that don't shift the way and the impact of these cars, right? If I take down the value of these cars and make them a lower price, it takes away my ability to produce more, and it takes away my ability to show up. So if there's feedback that I can take, be like, you know what, you're right, incorporate it. But if it's something that's going to be totally changing the way you do business, especially if you're not getting that many people saying the same thing, it's not worth considering. You can thank them for their review, ask how can I correct it, whatever, and keep going. But everything that somebody says negative doesn't need to be, you don't need to implement that change in your business either. It needs to make sense and still align with your mission. But if we can improve, take some of those things that they're telling you and improve, because they're telling us some things too that could help us do better and be better. But sometimes people are just going to be negative because they don't want you doing it. And then there's that. So
there's that. Okay. So I'm going to run and get my cards, but I would love for you to pull out one of your decks and let's read a card. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So keep them in a safe space.
Yes. So I want to tell the people, so there are 3 decks, right? So there's the women's deck, which is this one. Wait, I can't on camera. This one here. This is the teen deck. And then this is the men's deck here, right? So the deck you have should be the women's deck.
Right? Yep, I have the women's deck. I was one of the first. I was like, ooh, as soon as that launched, I ordered it.
So my favorite, my baby, and it has improved, right? So the way the deck is divided is it's divided into 3 categories: mindset cards to tackle mental blocks, habit cards to tackle behaviors that we just keep repeating that don't serve us, and then trigger cards to help us deal with our emotions that come up. So each one of those categories are going to have cards that address those 3 areas, right? So the mindset card, so one of my favorite from the mindset card is that I had to put down myself is, what do you need to forgive yourself for?
Ooh.
This card here actually just sends me every single time I pull it out, right? But it's one of my most favorite cards because I think that a lot of times we talk about and process how to forgive other people, and we never talk about how to forgive ourselves.
Man.
So this is one of my favorite cards.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that one. Where was the one that there was one that I remember pulling out and I wanted to slap you.
It's like, girl, what are you doing?
Get out of my business.
Yeah.
No one asked. It was one of those, like, get out of my business. I cannot find it right now.
It'll come to you too.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But you guys, this isn't me even trying to sell anything. This is just something where I am in such a space of just rebirth and refining myself and who I am, because I got lost in the business. I got so lost in it. And coming out on this other end has been amazing. And I'm thankful for resources and tools and conversations like this to help us realize that we're all on the same page. We all are going through the same things. And if you feel that you are not enough to accomplish something, or you're spending your time comparing yourself to other people, we have been in this grind for years. And even before I only started at the Periscope, I did not say anything before that. And I know for a fact we were both grinding way before Periscope. Periscope was a catalyst and an amazing tool that brought us together, along with a bunch of other amazing people. We're all doing amazing things right now. It was just a group of just really dope individuals. Who else? But King Ashley Ann was on there with us.
Yes, Ashley Ann.
Oprah was on there with us at that time. Who else?
So many people. Andrea was on there. Yeah. That's where I met her. Yeah.
Yep. Takara and Kenyon Martin, Ask the Martins. And it was just Kenyon first. And then I think they met during that time.
Yes.
Periscope.
They had just gotten back together, because I think they used to date a long time ago, and then they had gotten back together. Look at them.
And they're doing amazing. gosh, it's just, and when I say everyone's doing amazing, they got people got books, people hold
Mm-hmm.
conferences, like
Yeah.
amazing. And I think it's because we all like we didn't let our fears get the best of us, and we took
Mm-hmm.
advantage of the tools that were presented, and we pivoted in that time to help our businesses flourish in that environment.
Yeah.
And it was a tool that is a we just kept going with that.
It kept going, and allowed it to take whatever shape it was going to take, right? You went from doing fitness stuff to candles, completely different. And I think the thing that people get caught up on, especially I see it with therapists, is it has to make sense. It has to be in the same line of things. And it does not. And that was my struggle too, which is why I didn't know how to blend therapy and food relationship, because I was like, oh, but it has to be seamless. It has to make sense. And what you illustrated is it doesn't. It just needs to be something you're passionate about. That needs to be an opportunity. You need to be good at it. You need to go forward. So I appreciate you for that model, right? Because it was like, look at this. And I called my sister. I said, girl, this is out here with a whole other business.
Out of nowhere. And I snuck up on everybody because I've done so many things. I did not say anything it was to the point that people would purchase stuff and I would see their name and I'll hit them up on Facebook and be like, oh, thank you for buying a candle. They're like, wait, that's you? I'm like, yeah, that's me. They're like, we had no clue.
No idea. No idea. And it's so amazing. And I'm so supportive. Like, I still have Pillow Talk over there. And I gave them out when people bought the cards as a launch. I just love it. I love what you're doing. I think that is absolutely amazing. I think it's absolutely amazing. And so happy that you pushed on and pushed through and keep going.
Thank you. And we ain't going to tell people about what's coming up. We're going to keep that a secret. That's the story for another day.
Yeah.
But anything else you would like to tell everyone before we head on out today?
Yeah, just keep going. If you need to reevaluate as much as you need to, recreate yourself as much as you need to, redefine. Don't be afraid to keep redefining what your business is, who your business is. Don't wait until it's perfect, because it won't be. Because what these cars are now is not what these cars will be in 5 years. But this is what we got now, and this is what we're rolling with now. So put it out there and stand 10 toes down with it. Like, go with it and like promote it as if it's the best thing out there.
Right.
And that's the work that you got to do within yourself.
Perfect, right?
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You can find me. I'm always on Instagram at Dr. Ebony Online, Facebook too, and Twitter, and TikTok is Dr. Ebony. But if you want to find the cards, you can go to mytherapycards.shop or mytherapycards.com.
Awesome. I'll be putting the information in the description below. Be sure you subscribe. Be sure you like. Find us over on Instagram. And if you get anything out of this conversation, just know to believe in yourself. Trust your gut. You will know when it's time to make the next move, and don't second guess. Make that move. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And for that, I am thankful. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. And if you're watching the whole replay, you got this far, I appreciate you as well. Talk to you later. Peace.